Hello guys, welcome to my new video. I'm super excited to be doing something about Resto Shamans again because I've been getting a whole lot of questions on stream in terms of, hey, are you still maining Resto Shaman? Why are you maining Resto Shaman? What legendary are you gonna craft in week 2? What legendary is going to be good in raids? What legendary is going to be good in Mythic plus scenarios? And basically just the general consensus of why is Resto Shaman a healer that I chose to main in Shadowlands? And that's basically the whole video. I'm still going to main Resto Shaman in Shadowlands, so let's get started. So first of all, this is my Resto Shaman. I decided to go Necrolord and get myself a nice Primordial Wave. Now there's been a big debate about Primordial Wave and Ventier's Chain Harvest. I generally feel that I think this is a good choice. I think Primordial Wave has a skill cap associated with it. I think it has a lot of synergies, and I'm quite happy with it. In terms of Fleshcraft, the secondary ability that you have, I think it's also cool. I forget to use it sometimes, so I do have a weak aura. I generally am happy with picking Necrolords. I think the whole team, I think the performance, the HPS, the Necrolord Covenant, conduits and things like that are interesting enough to make it a solid and a fun choice for me. I've already noticed that because I am running Tumbling Waves. I've already noticed that sometimes my Primordial Wave is not gonna, it's not gonna incur a cooldown like 3 or 4 times in a row, which I feel is just insane. I already have these kind of combos. Again, this is super random, and when the raid hits, I'm probably gonna swap out from Tumbling Waves in order to use my Sword and Courage because I feel this is gonna give you a more controlled HPS boost. But generally speaking, I'm using Tumbling Waves because it's gonna give me additional. It's gonna actually work with my Elemental, and this is kind of comes down to I'm running Elemental for my DPS spec in terms of doing world quests. I am doing Torghast in terms of healing spec, and Resto is very strong during Torghast, especially if you use things like Earth Elemental has a permanently attached Earthquake, and then you have Earth Elemental cooldown reduction, you have your own tank that deals a ton of damage. That kind of build is actually pretty insane in Torghast at this given point. But let's get to the main point, and that is why I chose to play Resto Shaman. Resto Shaman was my main choice for raid situations because, again, if you look at the toolkit of Resto Shaman in terms of utility, you kind of have a button for everything. You're the only healer that has an interrupt, which I feel is really strong in Mythic Plus, especially on things like Spire of Ascension, where basically every single pack or every single mob might have 2 interrupts assigned to them. And I feel having an interrupt is really undervalued at this given point. And I hope that the community, especially the healing community or the DPS or the tanking community, is going to see the value of Resto Shaman's interrupt because it's very strong. But in terms of utility, you have a ton of cooldowns, especially in raid situations, with Spirit Link being probably the one that people know the most. And Spirit Link is also very strong in Mythic Plus. So I chose Resto Shaman in raids only, initially, because of their utility. They've always been considered as the support type of healer who does a lot of healing in stack situations, because guess what? A lot of your healing spells like Healing Rain, Chain Heal have a relatively short range, and you need to make sure that people are stacked. So I was fine with the whole niche of, hey, I really like the whole aesthetics of Healing Rain. I like the whole niche of being stacked and doing tons of healing, and I felt it was really cool. The downside, or maybe some people might not like the fact that Resto Shaman has a lot of long cast abilities. So you have to invest this long duration of a cast, but then you get this huge boost afterwards. If you play something like a Resto Druid, you'll notice that you can apply your hot instantly. You're not going to see the results yet, but they're going to come over time. So it's a very different type of approach if you're playing Resto Shaman and if you're playing Resto Druid, because initially I leveled Resto Druid, I leveled Resto Shaman, and I leveled Holy Paladin. And all of those healers feel very different. They're completely different or opposites of each other in terms of how they deal with healing, how they deal with damage, what utility they provide, and how cooldown reliant a healer can be, aka Holy Paladin. So this is why I felt that Resto Shaman, I like this playstyle. Even though the casts are long, I like the big huge boost that you get at the very end. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be playing Resto Shaman for raids no matter what. For Mythic Plus, I might play Resto Druid and things like that because Resto Druid has always been very strong. And this was a video that I made about a couple of months ago. And people have been asking me, has that changed? It has kind of changed to some extent. Because I feel Resto Shaman right now, if you take all the cooldowns away from them, so if you don't have your Healing Tide Totem, if you don't have Spirit Link Totem, if you don't have your Mana Tide Totem, if you don't have your Wind Rush, if you do spec into it, if you don't have your Wind Shear, if you don't have your Heroism, which also is a huge deal in Mythic Plus environments, because you'll notice that the drums are not all that great anymore. So if you take all of that away from Resto Shaman, the pure HPS throughput of Resto Shaman right now is absolutely incredible. Just looking at the healing that they provide, and I basically leveled all my characters and I was about 140 item level, and I ended up doing Mythic 0 straight away. Some of them with the guild, some of them randoms. And honestly, Resto Shaman felt initially extremely strong and capable with dealing with any kind of situation. And that comes to mind things like talent builds. In Mythic Plus, I was running a lot of the times Ascendance. I was running Cloudburst Totem. I was running Primordial Wave that would feed into Cloudburst Totem. And all of a sudden I would notice that, hey, if we overpull, and again, if we pull like 2 or 3 trash bags, a lot of the other healers will be like, okay, this is GG, this is over. I can go into Cloudburst Ascendance, Spirit Link type of deal. And honestly, people will be alive. And I could actually carry hardcore pulls like that that would usually lead to a death. And that felt really, really strong. Especially if you later on combine it with certain legendaries for Mythic Plus, like the legendary that makes your mana tide totem and actually throughput cooldown. You're looking at a healer that honestly is really, really strong. And again, I have to mention that Resto Druid, I was doing 140 item level dungeon runs. I feel Resto Druid, once they get enough item levels, once they get enough mastery in particular, combined with a bit of haste as well, I think Resto Druid's throughput is going to be insanely strong and maybe overtake Resto Shamans because they scale with mastery really, really well. But generally speaking, I think Resto Shaman right now is really, really strong. So when you look at the cooldowns that they provide both in raids and Mythic Plus, with the insane utility, with the fact that Castle Nacha is looking relatively stacked, so Resto Shaman is looking pretty cool in terms of healing stack groups, and my choice for Mythic Plus has also changed. I feel that I'm probably going to be running Resto Shaman in Mythic Plus environments as well, because I do think that Resto Shaman and Resto Druid are relatively close together in terms of Mythic Plus performance. I still feel that Resto Druid might have an edge over Resto Shaman in Mythic Plus environments because of things like Balrez and Soothe and additional utility that Druid provide. And Resto Druid can really utilize or itemize in order to provide additional healing, and they scale really well type of deal. So I do feel Resto Druid has an edge, but Resto Shaman, I think it's very, very strong right now in all content, and arguably could be considered to be the best overall healer because of their performance in Raid and Mythic Plus. So what does that mean? That means that I am scared, now this is, I'm making this video, but I am relatively scared that Blizzard is going to nerf Resto Shamans. I would actually be genuinely surprised if they don't. Now, this is not something that they're definitely gonna do and things like that. I really hope they don't. Maybe something like along the lines of reducing their overall healing. This is something that could happen. So keep that in mind, guys. I think there is going to be some healer balancing, and I think Resto Shaman might be the first one on the list in terms of balancing healers. That's something that I think Blizzard has kind of caught on. In terms of the legendaries, and a lot of people have been asking me, what legendary are you gonna go, MadSkillz? Which one are you gonna craft? Are you gonna craft it in week 2, week, whatever? So right now, guys, if you're looking at legendaries, I really hope you're seeing a screen, something that you see right now. You have Primal, Tidecore. This is dropping from Torghast. The wings that are available right now drop this. So you need to make sure to get it right now, otherwise you might have to wait a couple of weeks until you get it again. I have been able to rerun those wings to get it. I got it in the first go, but certain amount of people are saying that they didn't get it. Make sure you have the quest for Soul Ash available. Make sure you have Rune Carver open before you are doing Torghast, because I kind of did that on my Paladin and I didn't get any legendaries, and I unlocked the quest and then I got legendaries, but I'm still not 100% sure on the drop rate. So Primal Tidecore is something that I'm going to be crafting for raids. This is also going to be very decent Mythic Plus because you can only have one legendary equipped at a given time. And you probably only have one legendary crafted in the next couple of weeks. So generally speaking, Primal Tidecore, very, very strong, especially synergizes with Necrolord. Even if you don't have Necrolord, this is still going to be your best raid legendary. Am I going to craft it the first day of week 2? Probably not. There's a high chance I'm going to be waiting to finish heroic raids, or basically waiting for tuning. I might actually wait and see how Blizzard is going to approach current Resto Shaman state and see if there's going to be, like I said, certain alterations. I do feel if they are going to make certain changes to their classes, they're not going to touch the legendaries or the covenants, they're just going to touch the base class itself. So I do feel that crafting a Primal Tidecore is not going to be a bad thing even early on, but a lot of people are waiting. I am going to craft the head because there is an option to craft the head and gloves. If you notice, a lot of the times you'll be crafting a piece that gives you the most primal or primary stat. So head gives you, like you can see it here, this item level is 171, it gives you 49 intellect. And this is 184 and only gives you 41 intellect. So crafting a head is going to give you higher base stats. You have to remember that rank 1, rank 2, rank 3 of legendaries, they only increase your stats. They don't actually increase the legendary power. So you want to make sure you're crafting a legendary item that gives you the most of those stats per se. And in terms of the stats that I'm gonna adding on to this legend is going to be crit verse, because they're the most generic stats that give you reliable HPS throughput. I do feel that in Mythic Plus I am going to be changing my itemization for Resto Shaman. I'm going to be going a lot more haste, because things like Prideful give you a lot of mana back, so mana is not an issue. In raids I probably will be trying to go with crit and verse like I mentioned in my Resto Shaman guide video before, but going item level is probably the best way to go, especially this early in the expansion where your primary stat intellect is valued so high. So keep that in mind. And this is my current plan for Resto Shaman. I'm going to be maining my Resto Shaman for raids for sure. I most likely will be maining Resto Shaman in Mythic Plus as well, because Resto Shaman feels really fun. I will be, and I should have mentioned this as well, my second legendary I'm going to be crafting. A lot of people are looking to craft Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem, and this is something that is going to give you or change your Mana Tide Totem as a throughput totem. And this is looking to be a very strong choice in Mythic Plus environments where you're looking to bypass high prideful keys. I do feel that I won't be pushing high Mythic Plus very early on. I'll be just looking to get my plus 15 stone or plus 14 stone in order to get, double choices from weekly chests and things like that. So there is a chance I might be looking to craft Chains of Devastation as my second legendary, because I feel it is so fun in Mythic Plus environments. I think this is the most fun legendary for Resto Shaman in terms of how it interacts in Mythic Plus. I do feel that Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem is going to be a better option in high prideful keys where you need every single bit of throughput to pass really high keys. But I do see Chains of Devastation at like 15 level, the level that I'm going to be doing Mythic Plus initially, being the most fun legendary. So at the end of the day, I'll be looking in the next month or so to craft Primal Tide Core, Spirit Walker's Tidal Totem, and Chains of Devastation. And these are going to be my prime 3 legendaries for my Resto Shaman that I'm going to be switching in and out based on when I'm doing Raid, when I'm doing Mythic Plus, or when I'm pushing high level Mythic Plus. I hope that this gives you a decent overview of how Resto Shaman feels. Again, HPS can change, so I don't recommend people swapping to Resto Shaman just because their HPS is really high, because that can change at a given point. Swap to Resto Shaman or play Resto Shaman if you enjoy being this, a healer that has a button for nearly every single situation. A healer that provides a lot of utility. A relative support healer with the niche of providing healing on stack groups, or at least their niche being the strongest in stack groups. And if you kind of like this healer where a lot of your casts are long, but you get a huge boost after the end of it, this is the type of healer you will like. Keep in mind that it does have certain downfalls. The dispelling, the fact that it can only dispel curses and magic is relatively hard when you do dungeons or Maldraxxus dungeons where there's so much diseases. There are certain faults when you have to heal on the move with Spirit Walker's Grace not being up, and that can feel pretty bad. And the fact that you don't have a battle res can kind of be fixed with engineering, but there are upsides and downsides to playing Resto Shaman. Overall, I feel it is a very solid healer right now. Arguably one of the best healers in terms of how they feel right now, but we'll have to see. Guys, let me know how I feel about Resto Shaman. Let me know if you're playing Resto Shaman. Let me know if you're looking to play this healer. And if you like the video, please subscribe and things like that. It helps me to continue to do healing guides and things like that. And I'll see you in my next video.